Hello and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Chad Woolson, who is the owner of Lake Restore LLC. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. I appreciate your reaching out and having me on the show.
Yeah, so would you like to kick us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and then the business that you're in?
Yeah, for sure. So I own a company called Lake Restore. We're based in Blaine, Minnesota, and we serve a six-state area, including North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. And our technology is fundamentally different than other lake management technologies. It utilizes microscopic bubbles called nanobubbles. And the bubbles are fundamentally different in that they are 200 nanometers. They're very small. In fact, if you were to put a grain of salt in your hand, there would be 2,500 bubbles inside that grain of salt. So when I say small, I mean really small. The big difference between traditional aeration, the bubbles are much larger, and science has proven that aeration is excellent for improving water quality. The only problem has been there hasn't been an efficient way to transfer that oxygen into the water until now. And so what our company does is we look at each scenario or each lake as an individual body of water with unique properties, and we fit the system that matches what issues that lake is having, and also the individuals or lake associations or lake districts or cities or counties that we're working with to improve that water body.
Oh, that's great. So, Chad, this business is really a little bit different than the other businesses that you've been in. So, what was the spark that led you to get into this business?
Yeah, so I have always played in the water, so to speak, growing up in Minnesota, having a cabin in Wisconsin, and just spending a lot of time out on the lakes. So I've always got the benefit my whole life. And made some money from prior businesses that were sold, and I was looking to invest in a company that was improving water quality. And the reason I was doing that is in Minnesota, every 2 years, they do a test of all the different lakes in Minnesota, and there's a list called the Impaired Waters List. And over the years, I kept seeing that list grow and get bigger and bigger instead of less and less lakes on it. So currently, there's between 55 and 60% of the lakes in Minnesota are on the impaired waters list. And so I haven't seen any companies that were improving water quality to the point where they were coming off the list. And that's what made me want to do the research and find a solution that would improve water quality. I looked at investing in some companies, but they were not really improving water quality. They were just treating the symptoms and not treating the root cause of what was causing the water quality issues.
That's great. So maybe just share with us a little bit about your business model, kind of how does that work, right? Because it involves obviously lakes, water, equipment, and your nanotechnology.
Yeah, and so this is a stretch because my background was in the ATM industry for over 20 years, banking and cash machines, right? And always sat behind a desk and kind of directed marketing, directed sales, operations, etc. So getting into this business, obviously it started with just me. Now I have some service techs and stuff, but um, it is a unique business. You've got equipment that you need to set up next to the shoreline. You have to make sure you have power in place. Make sure that the client understands how to support that technology that's sitting next to the shoreline. And then winterize it, get it ready in the spring for operation. And then it's a short selling cycle as well because everybody wants them in early spring, and then you're pretty much done with your season in October.
Yeah, yeah, it is
So
a little short season up here.
so in that regard, it is somewhat challenging, but it's still worth the worth the effort based on the rewards that you get from seeing the improved water quality in the lakes.
So who are you, like who's your ideal client? Is it, you mentioned lake associations earlier. Is that kind of who is purchasing the products or?
Yeah, so initially I was selling direct to homeowners,
Hmm.
and then I had several lake associations reach out, working with some lake districts in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and South Dakota. And now I'm actually set up as an exclusive partner for Moliere. And so I'm actually looking to bring on some additional groups that have customers already on the lakes, like dock companies that are putting in and taking out docks, that are already providing lake management services in those areas. So I'm more of a product expert in this area that can help expand revenue for other businesses that cover a certain geographic area, like pond companies, etc.
Yeah, interesting. That's a really interesting, unique business model. So, it's a relatively new business. I ask a lot of times about, what are some of the things that you're doing to remain innovative in your space? Um, so why don't we kind of start there? Because this seems like an innovative solution just to start with.
100%. Yeah, the just having the nanobubbles alone is disrupting the market because the transfer efficiency is, over 90%. So, we're also taking traditional ambient air and utilizing oxygen concentrators to bring the 21% oxygen of ambient air, remove the nitrogen and increase that oxygen to over 90%. So you've got high oxygen rich nanobubbles that stay in the water for an extended period of time. And because those bubbles aren't rising, John, they're actually like a scuba diver swimming through the water. So they're staying neutrally buoyant for an extended period of time, allowing that oxygen transfer out of the oxygen bubble.
And so is that the big difference between your technology and traditional aeration?
It is,
Okay,
yes.
cool.
And then also it's hydrophobic, which basically means it's trying to get out of the water. But since it can't go up out of the water, it actually goes down into that muck or organic layer and helps to convert that anaerobic environment into an aerobic environment. So now you're actually activating the bacteria that's in that organic matter at the bottom of the lake, or like we call it in Minnesota, muck. It's activating the good bacteria so that that muck starts digesting.
Well, that's really interesting. This sounds like a really exciting solution for a lot of lakes and ponds and fresh water bodies.
It is, yeah, totally.
Cool, cool.
We're excited about it, and it's truly treating the root cause of the issues. So we're not just dumping chemicals in, or doing something that you're going to have to redo every year as it gets worse and worse. This is something that once you start that ecosystem improving, it just continues to get better and better year over year. So we look at more of as a seasonal approach to lake management than just a one-time treatment.
Yeah. So you said earlier you had experience in other industries and not necessarily in this one.
Yeah,
What were some of the skills that you brought with you that you were able to apply to this one? And then was there anything you needed to learn or bring into your team that you didn't have that you needed to be successful with this one?
100%. Yeah, really Moliere has the PhDs and the engineers that I needed to understand the technology and how to apply it to the lakes. I still on a regular basis will map out a property or a lake that I'm looking to treat, and I'll send it down to Moliere to review the dynamics of the lake and help me properly size the equipment. so that I'm doing the best job I can for the client.
That's really cool. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the future. Would you mind just offering us a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for your business?
Yeah, so my plans are to work very diligently on the processes that we use in our company. Um, for the first 2 years of the business, typically you're an owner, but you're not really owning the business. You're working in the business, right?
Yep.
And I'm learning all the things that need to be done, mapping the lakes, doing the surveys on site. And so the future of this business is where I can get myself into a position where I'm working on it and, making sure I have the team that can support the clients, do the marketing, and really just, surround myself with good people that are as committed and passionate to improve water quality in the Midwest as I am. So that's really the future is we've got a great solution. I need to surround myself with as many great people as I can that are as committed as I am.
Yeah, we always say you get to that point where you really need to start taking a look at your people, processes, and systems that are going to allow you
100%.
then to really focus as the visionary more so on the business. So cool.
Yeah, and one thing to note, just as I know you have a lot of entrepreneurs and new businesses that are working with you, no matter what industries I've been in, even the cash machine industry that I was in, uh, highly regulated. For years, the banks thought that we were using the ATMs to fund terrorist activity and launder money, right? So there was always that concern. Then the next business I get in, there's all kinds of state regulations and issues with that. This one is the same way. You have to work through the DNR, you have to work through many state regulatory bodies. So any business you get in, it's always something that you're going to have to deal with. And I just like to mention that because a lot of people get into one thing and go, oh, this is too hard, and then move on to something else. But I don't care what you're in, there's always going to be, big challenges that seem like challenges at first. You just have to figure out how to navigate them.
Absolutely. So, Chad, knowing that this show is going to be targeted towards people who are really in their first few years of business, do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
What I would say is really commit those first years to keep your expenses at a minimum. Don't go out and hire a bunch of people. Don't go out and take loans, etc. Try to negotiate with your suppliers on terms and do some creative things that don't require a lot of upfront capital. Create relationships where your partners are going to support you in the growth. Um, and just be committed to what you're doing and every day you get up, think about where is the next opportunity. How can I make progress on that opportunity today. And you have to always be focused on sales during the first couple years, sales, marketing, and operations. And then make sure you take care of the customer no matter what. If the customer is happy, they're going to refer you to new businesses, and that will give you the revenue that you need to bring on other people to support your vision.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time today, Chad.
You're welcome. Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, learning more about this new business that's coming in. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.